inspired by you. And so we're like trying to be, oh, look at all of our friends.
Oh, wow. All these people. Wow. Hey, everybody. All right. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining on Zoom and those watching the live streams across social media. We're everywhere. And if you're at a computer and can share this live stream to your personal page, please do so because we've got a great program tonight. I am State Representative Janelle Bynum, and I'm broadcasting live here from my office here in Happy Valley. I am Eddy's state representative, and I proudly represent House District 51 in the Oregon State Legislature. And I have the communities of Damascus, Gresham, Boring, North Clackamas, Happy Valley, and East Portland. There we go. Why are we here today? We are here today because we're gathering on the 55th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act. And it's a reminder for all of us how hard we fought for the right to vote for Black Americans and our broader American community in context of today's Black Lives Matter movement. It's a reminder of how our work to build a truly inclusive community, state, and country is far from over. And so this evening, before I get to the special guests, I want to thank and acknowledge Eddy's leadership in Gresham. For the past 20 years here in Oregon and nationally, he's worked to build a community that is just empowered. For him, it's not just about the ballot box, but bringing more people into the public policy process. And that's probably why I love him so much, because we agree on these core values. As a state legislator, I can't tell you how important it is to have impacted public policy processes and having communities at the table as we work right now to reimagine public safety. So, in honor of this 55th anniversary, we're going to hear from a number of leading voices from Oregon and around the country tonight who are centering this work to expand our voting rights. We want to make sure that in Oregon we're being authentic about raising these voices, and we want democracy to encompass everyone and build up the power of all of our communities. So, if I can get agreement from the group, and Hugh or Team Eddy, if you want to take a picture right now, if we can get a thumbs up from everybody. All right, thumbs up so we can get some screenshots. All right, we're recording too, so we'll get this. All right, so our first guest this evening is LaTosha Brown. LaTosha is an award-winning organizer, political strategist, and jazz singer with over 20 years of experience working in the nonprofit and philanthropy sectors on a wide variety of issues related to political empowerment, social justice, economic development, and civil rights. She's the co-founder of Black Voters Matter Fund, a power-building, Southern-based civic engagement organization that played an instrumental role in the 2017 Alabama U.S. Senate race. So, LaTosha, take it away.
Thank you. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Turn me around, turn me around, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom's land. I wanted to start in the spirit of the movement because I am a native of Selma, Alabama. I grew up saturated in a community of the stories about the voting rights movement and hearing from people who were a part of that movement. It was a people-driven movement. And so while we know some of the names of people that were there, and Martin Luther King and others, that what we may or may not know is that it was 10 years earlier. There were actually almost a decade earlier that voting rights movement had started. And there are people that you may not have ever heard of, Amelia Boynton and Marie Foster and Bernard Lafayette and others that were literally a part of Charles Malden, a part of the movement around voting rights. And so as I say that on this day, I really want to just kind of lift up you, Eddy. One, thank you for thank you for inviting me to this call. Also, thank you for just being who you are and supporting the work. One of the things that I know that you all have him out there in Oregon, but if I could steal Eddy, I would steal Eddy right now. Put him in a big bag with a bow of like, come on, Eddy. Because I'll say that because I think it's really significant. Those of us who live in the Deep South, that has been very hard and difficult to get resources in the South, to really get people to change the discourse around how it's really important around voting. And I do want to offer something. I want to say a couple of things. The first thing I want to say is welcome to the South. And I know y'all are like, well, we ain't in the South. Oh, yes, you are. Right. Currently, we are all in the South right now. That ultimately, when we look at what is happening, when we look at who runs the Senate, right, there are Southern white men that actually their power base is in Kentucky and in South Carolina. I'm raising that because you can be as blue as you want to be in California. We will never get a progressive agenda really moved, advanced in this country if we marginalize those regions like the South and break up some of that white patriarchy, sexism, racism that we're all dealing with. I'm raising what I want to specifically say to you, Eddy, because I don't know if I've ever said this publicly to you, is I want to say thank you, because many of the groups like my own that are rooted in the South for years, for the last few years, it has been Eddy who has actually been working with us, advising us, literally connecting us with resources. And matter of fact, making sure that he lift up our work in the national discourse. Those are the kinds of relationships that literally are going to transform this country. When we're connected and we know that our fate is connected to our brothers and sisters in Oregon, and that Oregon is connected to California and Utah and Alabama and Mississippi, and that collectively, when we really take those words serious, that ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, right? And literally live that, right? That when we live that will make change. And so just to say the three things that I want people to remember today, if you don't remember anything, the three things I think we need to think about: reflect, recharge, and recommit. Reflect on what happened 55 years ago, and let's lift up that story and the legacy, particularly in light of the recent death of Reverend C.T. Vivian and Representative John Lewis. That in order to honor their legacy, we have to continue the fight for voting rights. Is not over, y'all. We've still got unfinished business and unfinished work. And even right now in Congress, there is a bill that's been renamed the John Lewis Voting Rights Restoration Bill. And so we've got to put pressure, on the Senate to pass that and restore the Voting Rights Act immediately. That's one. When I talk about recharge, this is a moment that all of us are feeling tired. I know I am, but I'm not. My feet may be weary, but my soul ain't tired. And so I say that because we have to really recognize that democracy is on the line. We're not talking about this is just another election. We have to understand how critical this political moment is in our history. And what we need right now is we need bold, progressive leadership to go through the cracks in the system and create the kind of nation, the kind of local communities that we deserve, because we do deserve it. When we expand democracy, for some of us, we expand democracy for all of us, particularly when we are starting with those communities that have been marginalized and left behind. And the third thing is around our recommitment. The people that are on this call, I'll just say, I see it's over 100 folks. I'm just going to ask you, I know I'm going to be quick, Eddy. But you knew I was a Southern Baptist before you offered me to come on the call. So you knew I was. I'm going to ask you all if you could just take a moment and close your eyes. Just take your moment and close your eyes. I want you to imagine an America without racism. Imagine an America without sexism and homophobia. Hold that in your mind. Now I'm going to ask you to open your eyes. I've done this exercise so much, including the classes that I've taught at Harvard and other places all over this country, right? I can guarantee you that 99% of you could not see anything. And part of the reason why I'm saying that is because it is almost unimaginable with what we experience, that racism has been such a fiber in this country. It is really hard for us to get a vision of this country without racism. But today, what I'm saying on this 55th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, let's not stop there. I need you all to radically reimagine what this nation could be. And if that is the case, we've got to radically reimagine everything. We've got to radically reimagine the systems that we're in. We've got to radically reimagine those people who are running. We need people in positions of power that are going to align with the interests of the people. This is not we the party or we the political interest. It is we the people, those that will actually speak to our people who've been marginalized and left behind. This is our moment. I'll just say that as any good farmer knows, right, that there's a season for sowing, of planting, and there's a harvest season. It looks challenging right now because we are in a challenging moment. But what I can promise you, and history shows us this, is where there is pain, there is always great promise. And so we just can't sit in the pain. We have to literally take this moment, this traumatic moment that we're experiencing in this big health pandemic, this traumatic experience that we're having where we got a fascist, racist president in office, and yes, I said it, and that we're taking this moment to really push the boundaries of what is possible. How can we create the world, the nation that we all deserve? How can we do that? We have to have a radical reimagining to tear down those systems that have not worked for the people and to recreate new ones that are inclusive, that are fair, and are just. So thank you, Eddy, for inviting me. I love you. I love all of y'all on there. I see my partner in progress, Brother Desmond, who always gets fire under me too. But God bless all of you all. Thank you so much for having me.
Ooh, thank you, LaTosha, for lifting us up. Now I remember what I'm missing out here in Oregon. You have been such a warm spirit to warm us up out here. Your words of reflect, recharge, recommit, they landed on us. And I think your exercise of imagining an America without racism, that's deep and that's powerful, but that's what we're working towards. And that's why we're here to support Eddy tonight. So thank you again, sister. Today, next we're going to move on to Desmond Meade. He is a formerly homeless returning citizen who overcame many obstacles to eventually become the president of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, FRRC, chair of Floridians for a Fair Democracy, and a graduate of Florida International University College of Law. Now, he should have gone to FAMU, but I'm not going to hold that against him. As a president and executive director of FRRC, which is recognized for its work on voting rights, voting and criminal justice reform issues, Desmond led FRRC to a historic victory in 2018 with the successful passage of Amendment 4, a grassroots citizens initiative which restored voting rights to over 1.4 million Floridians with past felony convictions. Amendment 4 represented the single largest expansion of voting rights in the United States in half a century and brought an end to 150 years of a Jim Crow era law in Florida. Desmond, welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Representative Bynum. So first of all, I have to say, I hope you guys noticed my shirt, right? I actually decided to wear this shirt in honor of Eddy Morales since he invited me, because what this shirt represents, if you see all the bright colors, it kind of gives an air of festiveness, right? Of joy and happiness, right? But also, you know, and I think that is something that, especially in the times that we're in, right? We need people to find those spaces where they can be happy. And how we find that is through hope, right? And that's why this shirt reminds me of Eddy, not because that he has a joy that emanates from his eyes, coming from his soul, right? But that he's a person that spews hope, right? That's that same type of hope that you even heard in LaTosha's voice as she sang the movement songs, right? The same type of hope that led us in the effort to pass Amendment 4, right? So that 1.4 million people would have the right to vote back, right? That's that same type of hope that people who have suffered under 150-year-old Jim Crow law in Florida now have, that they could change something. So let me jump back to Eddy, right? Because when Eddy first got elected in the office, right, that created a hope and a movement that caused a lot of people of color to start getting registered to vote, which build on more hope to bring in people of color into positions of leadership to start transforming policies, right? And so when we fast forward to right now in the time that we're in, right, what gives us the energy to sing those movement songs, what gives us the energy to smile in the face of adversity and in the face of racism, what gives us that is hope, knowing that because we can exercise our right to vote, that we can change the conditions in which we live in, right? We've seen that happen, right, in Gresham, right? We've seen it, right? And we've seen it happen even in the state of Washington with Tara Simmons, who was a returning citizen that faced drug abuse and sexual abuse and homelessness. And because she had a glimmer of hope, she was able to overcome that, right? Able to overcome her being in prison, right? To lead an organization advocating for more sensible reentry policies, to eventually now be winning a primary to become the first statewide elected official that have been incarcerated before, right? That's that hope. That is what gives our bodies the energy to fight through the killings of Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor. It gives us the energy to fight through a president that have no respect for our democracy, right? That have no respect for human dignity. That is what drives us. And that's why it's so important, even on this anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, that what that did was give a nation hope. And we want to continue to do that, right? In the face of COVID-19, in the face of everything that's going on, we believe that when we see the fires that has erupted throughout the cities, that we really do believe that emerging from that fire could be a phoenix of hope, right? That's emerging out of those ashes, knowing that we can have a better democracy because people are starting to understand even more and more how voting is the difference between life and death. They're understanding more and more that we need less politicians and more public servants, right? Understanding the difference when politicians are involved, that people die. And our country is separated and divided among hate and prejudices and fear. But when public servants are involved, that what we see is a community having an opportunity to heal and people having an opportunity to live. We've seen that in Gresham. We've seen it across the country when we brought in public servants in office, but we can only do it when we exercise the power of the vote. And so our hope rests in that vote, because the people without hope might as well lay down and die. And right now, it's a party going on here, right? That's what this is all about. We don't have time to lay down and moan and groan, right? That we're going to push back. We're going to fight back. We're going to get people who love us and respect humanity, that understand that all of us are God's children. We don't care about sexual identity. We don't care about prior conviction status. We don't care about the color of your skin. We don't care about the socioeconomic background. That we believe that all God's children deserve to be treated with love and dignity. And with that hope that we hold on to so dearly, we know that we will transform this country. We know that we'll transform our communities, but most important, we'll transform the world. And so I'm stoked to be here. I'm glad LaTosha started us off with a song, and I hope we have a song at the end, because I'm ready to do the Pac-Man or whatever they call that dance. So thank you so much once again, Eddy, for inviting me. Representative Bynum, we're going to bring you back down to Florida and reorient you, right?
All right. When I come back to Florida, I got a list of things. Desmond, like I said, when I come back to Florida, I got a list of things I want. I want some catfish and some cheese grits. That's what I want.
We got you.
Desmond, thank you for those empowering words. When I think of Eddy, I think of hope. I think of good trouble. Every time I get a phone call from Eddy, he's doing something. He's stirring the pot. He's telling us what he's doing next. When he first started East County Rising, I was very thankful that somebody finally could reach into the community, can create a movement and have a good time doing it. We had East County Rising organizing meetings, and Eddy brought the food. And I was like, thank God, not another hummus plate. There was real food at the party. Eddy was making citizen engagement fun again, and he was making it real, and he was making it about the people. So I'm going to turn it over. Thank you again, Desmond. I'm going to turn it over to Eddy for some exciting news.
Thank you, Representative Bynum. What an honor to share this celebration of the 55th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act with such giants. LaTosha, your friendship and your work inspire me. In a time when our Black and allied communities are in the streets across the country demanding justice for George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Tony McDade, and way too many Black lives, you're helping to increase the political power to turn this energy into change. Desmond, our friend Stacey Abrams said, you led the largest expansion of voting rights in a half a century, and she's right. And now you continue to ensure that the votes of returning citizens and their families result in policy that will make concrete improvements in their lives. Thank you, Representative Bynum, for being a great advocate for my family in Salem and for being a friend. We could not be more proud of you. Your work as the chair of the House Judiciary Committee and your perspective as a fellow small business owner make you one of the most consequential figures in our state. As we work to reimagine community safety and remain resilient through this pandemic, which is harming small businesses and working families. I want to thank all the leaders and elected officials who are on here with us today, because we're all being asked to work triple time to understand and respond to social uprisings, a pandemic with many unknowns, and a safety net with holes that have been made more apparent during these unprecedented times. Together and with our communities, we will get through this. Today is a very important day for me. For the last 20 years, I've dedicated my life to fighting for social and economic justice. I've had the privilege to bear witness and in some ways play a role in incredible work being done across the country, in Oregon, in East Multnomah County, and here in Gresham. In this work, I've held true to one belief and three principles, which I learned from those that came before me. That people directly impacted by a problem are the best people to come up with a solution. That we must deliver tangible improvements in people's lives. That people have to be aware of their own power by winning victories. And that we must alter the relations of power between people and government and other institutions by building strong and responsive organizations. This philosophy has helped to ensure so many movements have succeeded and transformed our society and the way that we govern. When I ran for city council 2 years ago, I talked with thousands of our residents, and my volunteers talked to thousands more. In partnership with East County Rising, we don't just talk about engaging people, we meet people where they're at. We listen and we take action. I know that Gresham will be better for everyone because of that work. And from the day I was sworn into office, I started to ask questions about how decisions were being made and by whom and for whom. What I discovered over my tenure in that city has been controlled by select few. And that's not right. The recent events have revealed just how insular Gresham City Hall has been. It is important to acknowledge that these lands were initially governed by Indigenous peoples who lived here thousands of years before the writing of the Declaration of Independence, and that there were terrific atrocities committed in the formation of this country and after. The framers of our founding documents spoke of rights and freedoms for citizens and living in this new country. In the Declaration, it says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Since those words were written on July 4th, 1776, our country has had to constantly redefine what we mean by citizen, and we've had to rewrite laws to ensure that those ideals are true for everyone. From the suffrage movement, which delivered women the right to vote in 1920, to the civil rights movement, which brought us the Voting Rights Act in 1965. These movements were pivotal in extending the right to vote to all races and genders, leading to more diversity in elected office and policy victories, such as non-discrimination for sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, the right for workers to organize and bargain collectively for better working conditions and pay, more inclusive immigration policies, and the enactment of the Americans with Disabilities Act. For me, the work to fulfill these ideals is not over. We must commit to work for true equality and equity in cities and states across this country. This is why I'm excited to share with you today that I'll be running for Gresham mayor.
Everybody clap, yay!
As mayor, I will work to move a set of good governance initiatives to deliver transparent and an engaged citizen government that people deserve, and to make Gresham and East Multnomah County an equitable, safe, and inclusive community where everyone thrives. Now more than ever, my beliefs and principles stand true. Through greater community engagement and organizing, we'll fix the problems we have inside city government. When you pull back the curtain and shine a light by providing documents, data, and decision-making power to the community, we'll fix the core issues of our city government and build trust. The trust and cooperation of the people throughout this wonderful city is truly the solution. Gresham will become a place where we can all reflect on our ideals that everyone is created equal and has a right to freedom, liberty, and that right to happiness. And when we do, we will celebrate the progress together. Thank you, and I invite all of you to join my campaign to build our community's power.
Wow, who feels good right now? Wow, you can type it in the chat box, you can raise your hand, you can clap, you can share it with all your friends. I hope all of you feel so good. Eddy, that is amazing news. That is just exciting news. I'm going to turn it over to Congressman Earl Blumenauer to tell us why he's excited about Eddy and what this news means for Gresham. Let's pause for just a hot second so we can get Congressman Blumenauer's audio. There we go.
I'm spending half my life on Zoom calls. You'd think I'd be able to handle this.
This is some new level stuff that Eddy's got.
New level stuff.
So it's not normal.
Nothing's normal with Eddy.
No, it's over the top.
Over the top. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to share in this special moment. You know, I appreciate what LaTosha said about we're all in the South now. These challenges dealing with the 55th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, it's kind of ironic. We're having this celebration in the week that we said goodbye to John Lewis. One of the privileges of my life was working every week with John in Congress and watching his strength, his courage, his humanity, and learning more about his story. Being with him in Selma on the 50th anniversary of that horrific occasion on the Edmund-Tennis Bridge, and watching John Lewis introduce the first Black American president. These are momentous times. And this program that you've assembled for Eddy reflects that. Desmond, it's not just that you helped enfranchise 1.4 million Floridians, which is astounding, and you're fighting to make sure that it sticks, but you were able to persuade millions of people in Florida that that was the right thing to do, to abandon that vestige of Jim Crow and extend full citizenship to people who had paid their debt. Candidly, some people who probably didn't have a debt to pay. That is an extraordinary accomplishment. We're all in this new South now. We're watching the changes, the threats to our democracy by a president who's out of control, sending stormtroopers to our community to stir things up, somebody who does not have a sense of commitment to democracy, instead is trying to undermine it, attacking vote by mail that we've pioneered here in Oregon. Eddy, your campaign, I think, is going to be extraordinarily significant. I grew up in East Portland. I graduated from Centennial High School. I've served that area in various elective capacities. And I know the challenges that are faced in that portion of our community, the most challenging areas in the entire metropolitan area. And you're committed to engaging people to be part of solutions to their community's opportunities. I've watched you go door to door with East County Rising, and you connect with people in the same way that my friend John Lewis did, preaching to chickens. I have a sense, Eddy, I can see you preaching to chickens, watching what you've done on the doorstep. You take to it naturally, with enthusiasm, with energy, and you engage people in a way that John did with his chickens. I look forward to watching your campaign for mayor energize, engage, and help move us forward in a time of unparalleled opportunity. I'm not going to say problems, they're there, but it's an opportunity. And you understand that, Eddy, and you're willing to engage people in those solutions on the most personal of levels. I look forward to endorsing your campaign, supporting you, and working with you in a new era for Gresham and East Portland. And we're so fortunate that you've decided to make this decision and enter the race. Thank you so much, Eddy.
Wow, Eddy, you're loved because you have the most popular congressman coming to your events, the most beloved, I would say. I love him too. So thank you, Congressman Blumenauer. You are an inspiration for all of us. We take notes from you and we appreciate your support. And I will not stop saying this about Earl. There are people in this world who exist to keep their own power. And then there are other people who are servants who exist to expand everyone's opportunity. And that's how Earl is. And so we look to him for his support. We also lend our own support to him when he needs it. So these relationships are so important. And Eddy, I want you to know that we are all rooting behind you. In the chat box, we have people saying the ring of Mayor Morales has quite the tone to it. So I think we're going with that hashtag. And I hope everyone who is watching and joining us tonight is feeling as inspired and energized to invest in community power and to invest in Gresham as I and Congressman Blumenauer are. So the greatest thing that we can do tonight for the city of Gresham is to elect Eddy Morales for mayor this November. And to ensure Eddy is elected, we need to do what we can as a community to support, organize, and mobilize. And so there's no denying that stopping the power of people, of community, when we come together and fight for change. And how can we do this? We can all contribute and join the movement in ways that are best for us. I can share a personal moment. When I was running for office, a lot of my family members in the Deep South said they didn't even know how they could help me. And I told them that they even 3,000 miles away could help. They could donate themselves. They could write and ask others in their circle to help donate. I have an uncle who was a real estate agent in South Carolina that sent brochures of mine to all of his clients and raised over $2,000 for me. So he himself, of course, he gave what he could, but he didn't have to actually give me the money or the support directly, but he was able to use his networks and they fanned out. And that's how we make this movement. So right now we're in the Deep South, we're also in Gresham, and we across the country can make this movement come alive. So first, if you would like to help organize, you can join Team Eddy's organizer program. We can't go out door to door like Eddy was so good at doing before. But we can help train 500 community members to help 40 voters each, because this is a math problem, everybody. We can help them get out to family, friends, and groups we're a part of, and help make the moment come alive that way. And in coordination with his campaign launch today, he's assembled a team of volunteers and organizers to launch a voter registration drive right here in Gresham. He has also partnered with local businesses and made voting registration information available throughout Gresham for people to pick up and complete their registration. So I'm going to pause here and I'm going to let Eddy talk a little bit about the organizing part, and then we'll move to the voting part. Eddy, I'm going to throw it to you for a hot second here.
Yeah, so as Representative Bynum said, and thanks everyone for the kind words, we are running a decentralized campaign. And so we are hiring field organizers who will all help to recruit and support digital volunteers. We're going to be providing materials and content for those volunteers to build a relationship with people in the community. So each volunteer will be given a list of 40 people in their neighborhood who are likely to be supporters. They're going to be asked to send them postcards, make phone calls, connect with them on social media, and really help guide them through the process of education, relationship building, and eventually to the ballot. So we've got a lot of production of materials, and we'll have a site on the website where those materials and those organizing kits will be made available. So even if you're not in Gresham and want to help out, we can assign you 40 people to just build a relationship with over the next 3 months and get them to turn out for some of the most important stuff in our state.
So people, Eddy, if you'll stay with us, I know you're not going anywhere, but stay focused with me. You know, how does it feel when a volunteer reaches out to someone in the community? What's the feedback people usually give?
Well, you know, a lot of the communities that we have reached out to and do reach out to are a lot of voters who have never been reached out to before. Mm-hmm. They've never been engaged. A lot of them don't participate or don't vote, don't know that they're registered to vote. And they've been disconnected from government and elected officials. And so when we go there and they hear a neighbor or someone in the community volunteering to connect, one, they're like, why are you doing this? Are you being paid? And, you know, why do you care about me? And then the other part is, thank you, right? Thank you for giving me the tools and the information that I need to be able to participate and to vote. And, you know, we had a recount that we had to do, and we had to chase ballots the last time around. And we had 50 community members come back to help get people's ballots corrected. And I tell this story on the very last day of that. At 4:00 p.m., we had one farm worker who had voted. I call him Mr. 59, and his ballot was being challenged because his signature didn't match. And so we had to get him down to Portland to validate that that was his ballot. We picked him up right after work, after being on those blueberry farms. and drove him down with 10 minutes before the election closed. And he just teared up because it was his first time voting. And that's the power, right, of really holding our community and getting them to and through the finish line. He's now, voted several times in all the special elections and volunteers, but it just takes all of us getting people involved and helping them do it.
So let's talk about voting and making sure that we are all registered to vote wherever we live. And Joe, if you could post the link to register to vote in the chat, that would be great. But what does it mean, Eddy, can you talk a little bit about how open elections are here in Oregon and what that means to the system, and how we, of course, want to spread that gospel around the country, but it takes people stepping up and giving someone a reason to vote to do that.
That's right. Yeah. So, we're really fortunate here in Oregon that we have motor voter and everyone is registered to vote automatically, and that we have been doing vote by mail, and it has been secure and effective and has allowed some of our most vulnerable communities to participate from the comfort of their home. And particularly in a pandemic, when we want people who are vulnerable to not be out of their homes, but yet participate. I hope that those two ideas continue to move and spread throughout the country. One of the things with motor voter is that because people were automatically registered to vote, if they have not voted in the past, they don't make it on a lot of candidates' call lists.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't get talked to, they don't get the mail that a lot of us who do vote more regularly get. And so in some ways they're disenfranchised. So one of our big efforts for this campaign will go out and re-register people who may not know that they've been registered, help them identify a political party that they might want to be affiliated with. And again, just make sure that they know that they're registered if they've moved, and out to vote. And so we did make posters, and all of our posters, and if you want one, we're going to have this on the website. You could download it or you can order it. They have a QR code. And if somebody scans that with their phones, like a camera on your phone, it'll direct you right onto a voter registration site where you'll be able to re-register or validate your registration.
Right.
And I
Well,
encourage people to go to some of the local businesses who have them up throughout town on their windows and register them while you wait for your service.
Well, one thing I wanted to bring up, and this is kind of my own gospel, is that a lot of people are afraid of voting, whether it's they're afraid of getting something wrong, or maybe they have a past involvement with the criminal justice system and they don't quite know that in Oregon they actually do have the right to vote. I encourage people to vote for one thing the first time. And if we could get everybody in Gresham, all the people who've never voted, if they could do that one thing for the first time and make it voting for Eddy Morales, I think that would be a win, right? Your first time, that one thing. And then the next time you vote for two things. And the next time you vote for three things, so that you build it up as a habit. But I think we have to give people a reason to vote. And Eddy, you are a reason to vote. So I want to close out and say that I personally would love to be Eddy's first campaign donor. We should put the ActBlue link in the box there, but I'll be there with $500. So I want to make sure that everybody knows that. And it's important for us to bring someone along. So if you are willing and able to donate anything, what's really important is that he has a volume of contributions and a volume of support. It could be $5, it could be $10, it could be $25. It doesn't have to be $1 million like what you hear on TV. But everyone who can support should support. And if you would note your support in the box, that would be great. And Eddy, do you want to have any final words here?
No, I think, I believe that together, we will bring our city forth. And I know that there is a lot of anxiety in our community, but there's also a lot of hope. And so I want all of us here to help spread that hope, the hope that help Desmond in Florida, that helps LaTosha in the South. Because our community needs it.
Thank you, Eddie. We've got people donating, and those who want to donate their time. Your time is valuable just as much as a dollar contribution. So I want to take this opportunity now to thank LaTosha Brown, Desmond Meade, and Congressman Earl Blumenauer. Thank you to all of you watching, donating, and signing up to get involved. Sign yourself up, sign your friend up. I have an 18-year-old daughter. I'm gonna sign her up. And let's do a final round of applause for Eddy as we kick off this exciting campaign. Mayor Morales, yay!
Thank you all.
Thank you and have a great night. Bye, everybody.